In the deep silence of space, along the main trade routes of the galaxy, thousands of alien ships passed every day. Cargo carriers moved slowly with food, metals, and weapons. Patrol fleets guarded them from pirates. The traffic of ships was so common that no one paid much attention to strange signals. But on this day, something appeared that made even the bravest captains hold their breath. A shadow rose from the darkness of the void. It was not on any record, not in any database. The shadow became clear, a massive vessel, larger than any cargo ship, larger than most warships. It drifted forward with no lights, no signal, and no identification. The aliens stared in silence as scanners tried to read it. At first, everyone thought it was a broken ship, maybe a wreck pulled by gravity. But then someone whispered the words that changed everything: "It's human." The patrol commander of the Kithari fleet ordered more scans. Their machines confirmed it. The design was old, strange, but it was human construction. Yet no human ship had been seen for decades. The humans had withdrawn from the galaxy, vanished behind their borders, and left no contact. Many believed Earth itself had been destroyed. But here it was, a lone human ship, standing in the middle of busy space like a ghost. No crew responded to hails. No beacon explained its arrival. It was silent, cold, and terrifying. The aliens remembered the old warnings. Humans had been dangerous in the past. They were not the strongest species, not the biggest, not the fastest. But they were clever, and their ships had fought battles that no one forgot. Every empire had stories of human warships winning impossible fights. If this was truly one of them, then why was it here, alone, after so many years of silence? The Kithari commander called in reinforcements. Soon dozens of ships formed a circle around the vessel. They kept their distance, weapons armed but not fired. The lone ship did not move, did not react. It drifted slowly, as if asleep. Some captains said it was dead metal. Others said it was a trap. Rumors spread fast across the stars. In less than a day, fleets from other empires came to watch. The Yulari, the Serac, the Voth, they all wanted to see the human ghost. From outside, the ship looked ancient but powerful. Its hull was black with scars, marks of old battles. Some areas were burned, some plates bent, but the structure still held strong. It looked like a predator that had fought 100 wars and refused to die. Strange symbols ran across its surface. They were not warnings, not names. They looked like numbers, perhaps codes left behind by the humans. No alien could read them. One brave captain from the Serac fleet sent a small probe. The probe flew close, scanning. The first report shocked everyone. The ship's engines were still alive. They were cold but not broken. The reactor at the core pulsed slowly, like a heart waiting to wake. Even stranger, the probe detected movement inside. Something was alive within the ship. Not many, not thousands, but a few life signs, maybe machines, maybe something else. The Serac captain demanded permission to board. The other fleets shouted against it. What if the ship woke up? What if it carried a weapon, something humans left behind as revenge? But curiosity was stronger than fear. The Serac boarding team prepared. While they argued, the ship itself made its first move. The probe that was flying near suddenly disappeared. No explosion, no energy blast. It simply vanished, as if erased from existence. Every alien ship pulled back in panic. They aimed weapons, but still the human vessel stayed silent. No light, no radio, no voice came from it. Only the endless silence of space. Yet every crew felt it. The ship was not dead. It was watching. The Kithari commander ordered his fleet to keep a distance of 5,000 units. The Yulari suggested destroying it before it became a threat. But no one dared fire the first shot. To destroy a human ship without knowing its secrets felt dangerous. What if it had defenses no one could see? What if it could destroy them all? The stories of human war were too strong to ignore. Hours passed. The lone ship kept drifting. Then the strangest thing happened. Its engines glowed faintly for the first time. The glow was weak, like a whisper, but enough to send waves of fear through the fleets. The ship was alive, and it was waking. A signal came from inside. Not a voice, not a message, but a deep pulse in radio waves. It repeated again and again, a coded rhythm. Some thought it was a distress call. Others thought it was a warning. But one alien translator finally recognized it. It was old human Morse code. The pulse repeated a single word, observe. Shock spread across the fleets. The humans had left a message. But why observe? Were they watching the galaxy? Were they testing them? Or was something far worse waiting to be revealed? The word repeated again, louder each time. Observe. 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 The alien fleets felt trapped. No one knew what to do. Some captains wanted to flee and never speak of this again. Others wanted to send armies to study the ship. But deep inside, every alien knew one truth. If this was only one ship, drifting silently, and it could already cause so much fear, what else had humanity hidden? What else was out there, waiting to return? As the fleets argued, as the word observe echoed into the stars, a dark thought grew in every mind. Maybe the humans had never left. Maybe they were always here, in the shadows, watching, and waiting for the right moment to step back into the galaxy. And now, with this ship, that moment might have already begun. The lone human ship drifted in silence, and the word observe still echoed across the fleets that surrounded it. None of the aliens dared move too close after the probe had vanished. Still, the hunger for answers was too strong to resist. The galaxy had not seen humans for decades. To find their ship here, alive and waiting, was like opening the door to an ancient nightmare. The Serac captain, bold and reckless, could not wait any longer. His people had always been explorers, daring to go where others feared. He prepared a boarding team, a group of soldiers in heavy armor, armed with plasma rifles. The other empires shouted warnings. The Kithari commander told him it was suicide. The Yulari demanded he stop before he brought danger to them all. But the Serac captain only laughed and said, "If this ship holds secrets, they will belong to my people. The humans are gone. They cannot scare us anymore." With that, his shuttle broke formation and flew toward the human vessel. All fleets watched in silence. The shuttle moved slowly, its lights flashing, its engines burning against the cold void. It landed on a wide docking bay, one of many carved into the human hull. The shuttle touched down with a heavy thud, and the Serac soldiers stepped out. Their boots echoed on the metal floor, but something was wrong. The airlock was already open, as if the ship had been waiting for them. The soldiers hesitated but entered. Inside, the corridors stretched wide and long, built with strange design. The walls were dark, covered in scratches, burns, and marks of old battles. Broken pipes hissed quietly. Some doors were half melted, others sealed shut. The Serac soldiers felt small inside. Everything was built for giants, or maybe for humans wearing heavy suits. The silence was crushing. Their scanners detected faint power running through the walls, as if the ship itself still breathed. Yet no humans appeared. No voices welcomed them. Only darkness and silence. Then one of the soldiers swore loudly. On the floor lay an old human helmet, cracked in two. Inside it, bones rattled. The Serac leader picked it up slowly. The helmet design was ancient but unmistakable. It was human. That meant this ship was not empty. Humans had been here, maybe still were. Outside, the fleets waited nervously. They listened to the soldiers' transmissions as they explored. Every word increased the tension. The Yulari captain demanded they retreat, but the Serac leader pushed deeper. They found more helmets, more bones, but also strange machines crawling in the shadows. At first they looked dead, but as the soldiers moved closer, some of the machines twitched. Metal arms shifted, lenses turned, and tiny red lights flickered on. The soldiers froze. Then a sound echoed through the corridor. Footsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate. The soldiers aimed their rifles. The sound came closer. Echoes bounced off the walls, making it impossible to know from where. Then, from the far end of the corridor, a figure appeared. It was not human. It was a machine, tall as two men, built of steel and dark armor. Its head was shaped like a skull, with glowing blue eyes. In one arm it carried a weapon that no Serac soldier recognized. The machine did not run, did not attack. It only walked toward them, step by step. The Serac leader shouted for it to stop. The machine ignored him. When they opened fire, the plasma bolts struck its chest and shoulders, but the armor absorbed them like rain on stone. The machine raised its weapon. A single blast of energy roared through the corridor, cutting one soldier in half. The others screamed and tried to retreat. The machine advanced without fear. Outside, the fleets heard the screams, the gunfire, the silence that followed. One by one, the Serac soldiers' signals vanished. The shuttle still sat in the docking bay, but no one returned to it. The Yulari shouted that they must destroy the shuttle and cut off the infection. The Kithari commander hesitated. What if this was exactly what the humans wanted? To make them panic, to make them attack. Still, fear spread. The Serac captain's arrogance had cost his life, and now no one knew how many more machines were alive inside. Suddenly, the docking bay lights turned on. For the first time, the human ship showed a sign of movement. Bright white beams cut through the darkness, shining like watchful eyes. The shuttle in the bay began to move. Slowly, with a grinding noise, it slid backward into the void. The Serac fleet panicked and rushed to retrieve it, but as their ships reached out, the shuttle vanished like the probe before it. Erased, gone, nothing left. The message was clear. The human ship was in control, and it allowed no one to leave. Then a sound came across every channel at once. It was not words, not a voice, but a deep metallic breathing. Heavy, steady, unnatural. It echoed in the minds of every crew. Some said it was the ship itself breathing. Others swore it was the last human captain, still alive, whispering through the machines. The sound lasted for minutes before cutting off. Silence returned, but the damage was done. Fear had taken hold. The Kithari commander ordered all fleets to keep maximum distance. Still, none of them dared to leave. Curiosity was stronger than terror. Every empire wanted the secret of this ship. Every empire wanted to know why it was here, and what it still carried. But now they also knew the truth. The ship was not abandoned. Something inside was awake. Something was guarding it. The Serac Empire mourned their lost soldiers, but they also burned with anger. They swore revenge. They swore they would send a full fleet to crack open the human vessel and take its secrets by force. The other empires warned them against it, but the Serac were too proud to admit defeat. Meanwhile, whispers spread among the other fleets. Some said this was not just a ship. Some said it was alive, part machine, part human, a weapon built with purpose. A trap left behind by a species that had promised never to be forgotten. And in the deepest silence, hidden from all, the ship's reactor pulsed faster. Its engines glowed faintly once again. The message changed. No longer did it say, "Observe." Now it repeated a new word. A word that made every alien heart freeze with terror. The word was, intruders. The fleets surrounding the human ship were restless. For hours they had watched its silent hull, waiting for movement, waiting for answers. First it had spoken the word, observe, then later it changed to, intruders. The word echoed again and again in cold radio waves that cut through every frequency. None of the aliens could block it. None could escape hearing it. The word carried no anger, no emotion. It was flat, mechanical, but still it chilled every crew member. Something inside the human ship had awakened, and it knew they were there. The Kithari commander, who had the largest fleet nearby, tried to keep order. His officers reported rising fear among the crews. Some ships wanted to flee. Some wanted to fire their weapons immediately. Others argued to send more boarding teams to uncover the truth. But everyone remembered what had happened to the Serac soldiers. Their signals had vanished inside, their shuttle erased. The silence of their deaths haunted the fleets. Still, curiosity kept them in orbit. The galaxy had not seen humans for decades, and this ship might hold the secret of why. Without warning, the human vessel stirred. Lights blinked across its surface, glowing faint blue, spreading like veins. One by one, windows lit up, engines pulsed brighter, and the ship shook as if waking from a long sleep. The fleets pulled back quickly, widening the circle. Some captains screamed over the channels to open fire before it was too late, but no one dared to shoot first. They feared what would happen if they triggered the wrath of the ship. Then, a voice came. It was not a language most of them understood. It was human. Rough, distorted, heavy with static, but still human. Unauthorized presence detected, the voice said. Every translator confirmed the same words. The voice repeated again and again, calm but commanding. Unauthorized presence detected. Leave or be removed. The fleets argued among themselves. The Yulari ships wanted to retreat at once, fearing the worst. The Serac, still angry about their lost boarding team, demanded to attack and test the ship's defenses. The Kithari commander tried to hold balance, but even his own officers were losing their will. Then the impossible happened. The great doors of the docking bay began to move. Slowly, with a groaning sound of ancient machinery, they opened wide. From the darkness inside, shadows appeared. Dozens of machines walked out, tall and armed. Their metal armor gleamed under the docking lights. Their glowing eyes scanned the void. They looked like soldiers, but they were not alive. They were guardians, machines left behind by humans, built to defend this ship forever. The fleets panicked. Weapons charged, alarms screamed. Yet the machines did not attack. They marched out into the empty space, standing on the hull of the human vessel as if it were ground beneath their feet. They turned as one, facing the fleets. Their eyes glowed brighter, and a single word burst across every channel. Leave. The Yulari ships began to retreat. They had seen enough. But the Serac commander refused. He shouted that the machines were only old relics, empty toys from a dead species. He ordered his ships to fire. Bright plasma beams cut across the void, striking the machines and the hull. Explosions shook the surface. For a moment, hope rose among the Serac crews. But then, something terrifying happened. The plasma fire froze in space. The beams stopped moving, hanging like rivers of light frozen in the air. Time itself seemed broken. The fleets gasped in disbelief. Then the beams twisted and turned, reversing back toward the Serac ships. The very weapons they fired now struck their own hulls. 3 ships exploded instantly, their crews lost to fire and metal. The rest scrambled to retreat, but the machines had already raised their weapons. Silent blasts of blue energy cut through the Serac fleet. Ships shattered like glass. The survivors screamed for help, but no one dared to come closer. In less than 5 minutes, half the Serac fleet was destroyed. The other empires watched in silence. No one dared to move. The machines did not pursue. They simply returned to their places on the hull, standing like statues. The voice returned. Warning complete. Unauthorized presence detected. Further action will not be tolerated. Then the lights dimmed, the engines quieted, and the ship once again drifted in silence. But everyone knew the truth now. The ship was not a corpse. It was alive, aware, and armed with powers no alien understood. Panic spread across the fleets. The Yulari abandoned the area completely, jumping to hyperspace and fleeing to warn their empire. The Serac survivors swore vengeance, but none of them dared approach again. The Kithari commander stayed, his heart racing, his mind full of fear and wonder. He whispered to his officers that this was no ordinary warship. This was something more. It was as if the humans had built not just a ship, but a living weapon, a guardian to watch the galaxy. But for what purpose? To defend. To punish. To remind the galaxy of their power? Deep inside the human vessel, lights flickered in the central chamber. Long corridors shook with power. Machines moved silently, checking systems, repairing damage, preparing. And at the very core, hidden in a chamber locked away for decades, a faint heartbeat echoed. A cryopod glowed softly. A human figure lay within, frozen in time, eyes closed, waiting. The ship's systems whispered to themselves, codes flowing through the circuits. The guardians outside were only the first defense. The real secret was still asleep, waiting for the moment to awaken. Back outside, the Kithari commander recorded everything. He knew that this story would shake the galaxy. Empires had long believed that humans were weak, or gone, or broken. But this ship was proof that they had left something behind, something powerful enough to face entire fleets. The commander wondered if this was only one of many. If the humans had built one guardian, why not more? Where were they hiding? Was Earth truly silent, or was this ship the first sign of their return? As these questions burned in his mind, a final message came across the channels. It was not mechanical, not cold. It was soft, almost human, spoken in a whisper that every translator struggled to catch. The message was clear: this is only the beginning. Then silence fell once again. The fleets drifted far away, none daring to fire, none daring to return. The lone ship stood in the dark, quiet once more, like a giant asleep. But every captain knew it would not sleep forever. Something inside was watching, waiting, and slowly, surely, awakening. The fleets that survived the awakening kept their distance, but not a single captain dared to leave their post. Every ship that remained around the lone human vessel watched with cold fear and burning curiosity. The Yulari had already fled, the Serac were half destroyed, and the Kithari held their position in silence. Yet no matter how much fear gripped their hearts, they could not turn away. Something inside the human ship was alive, and something inside was sending a message. For hours there was no movement, no sound, until suddenly a flicker of light appeared on the hull. A long panel slid open, and a projection was released into the void. It was not a weapon. It was a hologram, and what it showed made every alien freeze. A human figure appeared, tall and stern, wearing an old Navy uniform marked with the faded symbol of Earth. His face was sharp, his eyes steady, and his voice carried across the comm channels with a weight that silenced all debate. "If you see this," the man said, "then humanity has fallen, but our legacy remains. This ship is not a ghost. It is a message, a warning, a weapon." The hologram flickered, but the man's voice continued. "We knew the day would come when others would test our borders. We knew the day would come when our enemies would forget our strength. We built this ship as our memory. If we are gone, it speaks for us. If we survive, it waits for us. And if you are not human, you stand in the presence of Earth's last promise." His words echoed across the channels, translated into every alien language. The fleets listened in silence. Some crews trembled, others wept, because this was no ghost story. This was history, alive before their eyes. The hologram shifted. Now it showed images of battles long past. Massive fleets of alien ships clashing with human warships. Planets burning in fire. Human soldiers standing firm on shattered worlds. The aliens watched, horrified and fascinated, as the images revealed the scale of humanity's last war. The humans had not vanished quietly. They had fought. They had fought against many species at once, enemies that had united to crush them. The fleets saw familiar symbols, the banners of old empires that no longer existed. The humans had destroyed them in their fury. And yet in the end, Earth itself was left silent. The humans had paid the price, but before their fall they had built this ship. It carried not only weapons, but their history, their rage, and their warning. The Kithari commander clenched his fists. He realized now that this was not simply a ship. It was a monument to human will, a living archive of their struggle. The hologram continued, showing more images. Machines marching in endless lines, human engineers building weapons larger than cities, star systems burning under human retaliation. And then the voice returned. If you are watching this, you must understand. We do not forgive betrayal. We do not forget war. And we do not vanish quietly. If you seek to test us again, then know this. The lone ship is not alone. The words shook every listener. If one such vessel was this strong, how many more might exist, hidden across the galaxy, waiting to awaken? Some alien captains broke under the weight of fear. They begged their fleets to retreat. But others, hungry for power, thought of another path. If they could capture the ship, if they could unlock its weapons, then their empire could rule the galaxy. The Serac survivors whispered of revenge, but now their whispers turned to greed. The Kithari commander saw it in their eyes. He knew war was coming, not against humans, but between the empires that wanted this ship for themselves. Inside the vessel, more systems came to life. The hologram ended, and the docking bays opened again. This time, instead of machines, strange drones floated out. They carried small beacons that pulsed with code. Alien scanners read the signals, and to their shock, the codes were not human alone. They were records, detailed maps of battles, data logs of weapons, strategies, and secrets of past wars. It was as if the ship was offering them knowledge, daring them to take it. Some captains rushed forward to intercept the drones, desperate to seize the information. Others pulled back, convinced it was a trap. The Kithari commander held his ground, watching, waiting. The first ship to catch a drone was a Serac destroyer. It pulled the beacon inside and began to scan. At first the data was pure gold, blueprints of human weapons, strategies of their fleets, codes for their machines. The Serac captain laughed with victory. But then the data shifted. Strange symbols filled the screens. Warnings flashed. The ship systems screamed as viruses spread like fire. Within minutes, the Serac destroyer lost all control. Its engines ignited at full power, spinning it into the fleet. Before anyone could react, it exploded in a ball of fire, tearing 3 more ships with it. The fleets panicked, pulling back in fear. The Kithari commander whispered the truth. It is not a gift. It is a test. The humans are watching us. The human ship stood silent again, as if amused. Its lights glowed faintly, its hull gleamed with scars of old wars. But now everyone knew the truth. This ship carried the legacy of a people who never surrendered. It carried their warning to the galaxy. Even in their absence, they remained dangerous. The message was clear: if humanity had truly fallen, they had made sure no one would profit from their death. If humanity still lived, then this was only their opening move. The fleets drifted back to a safer distance. None dared to fire again. The Serac survivors burned with shame. The Yulari far away screamed warnings to their leaders. And the Kithari commander sat in silence, his eyes fixed on the lone ship. He knew this was history unfolding. The galaxy had tried to erase humanity, but instead they had built a legend. And legends had power, power that could shake empires, power that could rewrite the balance of the stars. As the fleets watched, the ship pulsed with one final message. The voice of the human captain returned, calm and steady. This is our legacy. Remember it well. For one day, we will return. And then the projection vanished, the ship drifted in silence once more, and the stars held their breath. The galaxy had seen many strange things, but nothing like this human vessel. For days it floated silent in the void, yet every empire that dared to watch it knew one truth: the ship was alive. The hologram of the human captain still echoed in their memories. His words had been clear. The ship was not a ghost. It was a warning, a weapon, and a legacy. But the fleets were restless. Curiosity ate away at them like hunger. If this vessel was truly the last of humanity, then its secrets could change the galaxy forever. Some wanted to flee, to forget, but others wanted to claim it. And the Serac, humiliated by their losses, demanded proof that the ship was not invincible. They gathered their surviving warships, powered their weapons, and prepared to strike. The Kithari commander tried to stop them, warning that the ship was more than it appeared, but the Serac were too blinded by rage. Their fleet moved forward. Cannons charged, missiles armed, energy thrummed through their ships. The moment their weapons fired, the void lit up like a new star. 1,000 beams of plasma streaked across space, crashing into the human vessel. Explosions bloomed along the hull, fire and smoke filled the blackness. For a moment, the Serac cheered. They believed they had won. But then the smoke cleared, and every alien heart turned to ice. The ship was untouched. The hull glowed faintly, as if wrapped in a shield of invisible energy. The Serac beams had vanished on impact, erased before they could cause harm. The ship stirred, and its voice returned. Intrusion detected. Arsenal test initiated. The words were calm, emotionless, but heavy with power. Then the ship opened its wings. Panels along its sides unfolded, revealing rows of hidden cannons that no scanner had ever detected. Gigantic barrels rotated into place, glowing with blue fire. From beneath its surface, hatches opened to release swarms of drones, black machines shaped like daggers. They spread out in silence, their engines burning cold blue flames. Every fleet pulled back in terror, but the Serac could not escape. The human cannons roared. Beams of pure energy cut across the void, slicing through Serac warships like paper. Drones darted into the wreckage, planting bombs that tore ships apart from within. In less than 10 minutes, the Serac fleet was gone, nothing left but broken metal drifting in the dark. The watching empires stared in disbelief. One lone ship had destroyed an entire armada. And it had not even moved. The Kithari commander whispered to himself, "This is not a warship. This is an arsenal. A fortress. A doomsday weapon." His officers nodded in fear, unable to look away. The Yulari, now listening from a distance, sent desperate warnings across their empire. They said humanity had left behind a nightmare, a weapon so strong no power could stand against it. And yet, even as panic spread, greed grew stronger. If such a ship could be captured, if its weapons could be claimed, then the empire that controlled it would rule the galaxy. The human vessel seemed to hear their thoughts. More of its weapons unfolded. Gigantic missile bays opened, but the missiles did not fire. Instead, they hovered in the void, spinning slowly, their tips glowing. Alien scanners tried to read them, but the readings made no sense. Each missile carried a power core strong enough to destroy a planet. The fleets gasped, realizing the truth. This single ship held the strength to wipe out worlds. It was not just a battleship. It was a world killer. The ship pulsed again with a message. Arsenal demonstration complete. Further action will result in planetary erasure. The message repeated again and again, until every crew understood. If they dared to challenge it further, it would not only destroy their fleets. It would destroy their homes. The fleets retreated farther, trembling. The Serac Empire had been crippled in minutes, but the human vessel had spared the others. It was not mindless. It chose its targets with purpose. It punished the Serac because they had attacked, but it let the others live. This made the Kithari commander realize something darker. The ship was not simply defending itself. It was judging. It was testing. It was waiting to see who among the empires would dare to fight, who would dare to betray. And it had the power to punish any who failed its test. Meanwhile, deep inside the vessel, machines moved like shadows. Cannons retracted, drones returned, missiles slid back into their bays. In the heart of the ship, the cryopod glowed brighter. Systems whispered to each other in forgotten human code. The awakening was not finished. What the fleets had seen was only the surface. More weapons slept beneath the hull, older, stranger, and deadlier than anything revealed so far. The ship had only shown a fraction of its power. The true arsenal was still hidden, locked behind codes waiting for the right command. Outside, the galaxy trembled. Messages raced across empires. Leaders argued, generals panicked, spies sent reports. The lone ship had become the most feared object in known space. Some wanted to destroy it with overwhelming force, bringing together every empire to strike at once. Others wanted to study it, to steal its secrets. And some whispered that the best choice was to leave it alone, to let the humans rest, to pray that the ship never awoke fully. But one truth was clear to all. The humans had not disappeared into weakness. They had disappeared into preparation. They had built weapons beyond imagination, and they had left this ship behind as their voice. The Kithari commander stared at the black silhouette of the vessel, his heart heavy. He realized the galaxy had made a grave mistake. They had once believed humans were weak, scattered, unworthy of fear. They had once mocked Earth as a small world with small people. But now they knew the truth. Humanity had always been dangerous, not because of numbers, not because of size, but because of will. They had turned their fury into machines, their pain into weapons, their memory into fire. This ship was proof. A lone human warship could destroy fleets, could erase worlds, could reshape the balance of power in a single night. And as the fleets drifted farther away, a final message came once more. The human voice, calm and steady, spoke across the stars. This is the arsenal of Earth. Remember what you have seen. Tell your leaders. Tell your worlds. Humanity sleeps, but our weapons do not. Do not test us again. Then silence returned. The ship folded its panels, dimmed its lights, and drifted once more into stillness. But every captain knew the truth. The arsenal was waiting. And one day, it would awaken completely. The human ship hung in the void like a shadow, silent once more, but no one believed it was sleeping. Every empire in the galaxy now knew the danger. The Serac had been torn apart in minutes, their fleet reduced to nothing, and their name was already being whispered as a warning across the stars. The Kithari commander, still watching with his surviving ships, could not look away. His people were disciplined, logical, but even he felt fear burning in his chest. The arsenal of Earth was not just a warship. It was something greater, something beyond their understanding. But questions still haunted him. Why was it here? Why now? And what was its true purpose? The answer came not with fire, but with a story. Without warning, the ship sent another projection. Not a hologram of a human captain this time, but raw data, images, and records from its core memory. At first the fleets hesitated, fearing another trap, but the signals carried no virus, no weapon. Instead they revealed history. The aliens watched as the story of humanity unfolded before them. The first images showed Earth, blue and green, a small world among the stars. They saw humans building, expanding, dreaming. Then came the wars. The humans had fought each other first, endless battles across their own world. But those wars had forged them into something harder, something dangerous. When they reached the stars, they carried that same fire with them. The fleets saw humans fighting pirates, humans battling alien raiders, humans standing against slavers who thought Earth was weak. Time and time again, the humans refused to surrender. Then the records shifted to the Great War, the war that had nearly ended them. Images of countless alien empires filled the screens, many still alive today, many now long dead. They had united against humanity, fearing what humans might become. They had struck Earth's colonies, burned human worlds, killed billions. But humanity had answered with fury. The fleets saw battles where human warships fought against 10 times their number and still won. They saw soldiers fighting with broken weapons, turning even stones and fire into tools of victory. They saw desperate engineers building weapons so powerful that whole planets trembled. The aliens watching trembled themselves. They had always heard rumors of the war, but now they saw the truth. Humanity had fought not to win, but to make sure they would never be forgotten. The records grew darker. They saw Earth itself attacked, skies burning, cities falling. They saw the last human fleets retreating, their numbers broken, their leaders dying one by one. But even in defeat, humanity built this ship. The projection showed them factories buried deep in the soil of Earth, giant machines forging steel, engineers working night and day while the skies burned. They poured everything they had into this vessel, every weapon, every secret, every ounce of rage. It was their final answer to the galaxy. The message was clear: if humanity fell, they would leave behind a ship that could fight forever. A ship that would stand as their memory, their warning, and their vengeance. The fleets fell silent as the records ended. None dared speak. None dared move. They had just seen the truth. Humanity had not disappeared because they were weak. Humanity had disappeared because they had chosen to. They had turned inward, building weapons, preparing for a future no one else could imagine. The Kithari commander whispered to himself. They wanted us to know. They wanted us to see what was done to them. His officers nodded, their eyes wide. The revelation was dangerous. If the galaxy believed humans were gone, then the empires felt safe. But if the galaxy knew humans had survived, knew they had hidden weapons like this, then fear would spread like fire. Wars would start, alliances would break, and chaos would follow. And that was when the human voice returned. You wanted the truth, it said, calm and cold. Now you have it. We were betrayed. We were hunted. But we endured. We built this ship not to beg for mercy, but to remind you. We are not gone. We are watching. And when the time is right, we will return. The words shook the fleets like thunder. Some captains panicked, ordering retreat, fearing that the humans were about to rise again. Others, greedy for power, thought of ways to capture the vessel before humanity could claim it. But deep inside, every alien knew one thing. This was not a lie. The humans were out there, hidden somewhere, waiting. The lone ship was proof. If they had built one, they could have built more. The galaxy could already be surrounded by sleeping human warships, waiting for their moment to awaken. As the fleets argued, another strange event occurred. The human vessel opened a new chamber on its hull. From inside floated a capsule, small and fragile compared to the massive ship. The fleet scanned it, expecting a bomb or a trap, but what they found shocked them. It was a message pod. Inside were records written not in code, but in simple words, as if meant for anyone to read. The pod carried the final orders of Earth's High Command. The words were simple: to any who find this, humanity has not vanished. Humanity has prepared. This ship is our voice. Do not fear its silence, for its silence means we are not ready. When it speaks, when it fights, it means our return has begun. To those who betrayed us, beware. To those who respected us, wait. To those who seek to steal our secrets, die. The fleets trembled at the words. This was not a weapon. This was a prophecy. The Kithari commander closed his eyes. He understood now. The human ship was not here by accident. It was not drifting aimlessly. It had been placed here with purpose. It was a seed, a sign, a reminder. And now it had awakened, showing its arsenal, showing its truth. That meant the time of waiting was ending. Humanity was preparing to return to the stars. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The fleets drifted back farther, terrified to stay, terrified to leave. They had seen too much, learned too much. The Kithari commander knew he would carry these memories to his people, but he also knew the danger. The moment the empires learned of this truth, chaos would begin. Everyone would want the ship. Everyone would want to claim humanity's legacy. Wars would start before humanity even returned. And perhaps that was exactly what the humans wanted, to let their enemies tear each other apart, leaving the galaxy weak and broken, ready for their return. As the fleets whispered, as captains argued and soldiers trembled, the human vessel pulsed with one final message, simple and chilling. This was only the first truth. More will come. Then it fell silent, drifting in the void, as if nothing had ever happened. But the fleets knew better. The silence was only the beginning. Humanity's shadow had returned to the galaxy, and the truth was far more terrifying than any of them had imagined. The galaxy had seen many battles, but none carried the same fear as the silent presence of the human warship. Every empire debated in secret councils, their leaders pacing across grand halls, their advisors whispering in fear. Some wanted to destroy the ship before it could bring ruin, others wanted to capture it and steal its secrets, and a few, the wisest of them, wanted to leave it alone, to let the shadow of humanity remain undisturbed. But greed always outweighed wisdom, and soon one empire made its choice. The Torvak Dominion, proud and arrogant, claimed they would destroy the ship and prove to the galaxy that humanity was only a ghost, nothing more. The Dominion gathered a massive fleet, one of the largest ever seen, and sent it straight toward the lone human vessel. Hundreds of warships with shining cannons, carriers filled with fighters, and dreadnoughts heavy with weapons all jumped into the system, surrounding the silent shadow. Across the galaxy, other empires tuned their sensors, waiting to see what would happen. This was the test, the moment that would decide if the human ship was truly unstoppable. At first, the lone vessel did nothing. It drifted, cold and quiet, its massive hull reflecting the faint light of the distant stars. The Torvak commander mocked it, sending messages across all channels. "You are nothing but a relic," he declared. "You are a machine without masters. We will tear you apart and scatter your pieces across the void." His soldiers cheered, their arrogance echoing through the fleet. But then, without a word, the ship stirred. The lights along its hull glowed like waking eyes, the engines hummed with power, and the weapons began to shift into position. One by one, its colossal cannons aimed outward, not with haste but with terrifying calm. The silence broke with a single voice, cold and steady, speaking in human language. "Test accepted." The Torvak commander laughed, ordering his ships to fire. 1,000 beams of energy tore across the void, slamming into the human vessel. Explosions bloomed across its armor, but the ship did not move, did not flinch. Instead, the blast seemed to vanish into its hull, swallowed by technology no one understood. Then the reply came. A single weapon fired, not bright, not loud, just a thin pulse of light that cut through space like a blade. In an instant, one of the Torvak dreadnoughts was gone, erased without a trace. Panic rippled through the fleet. But the commander shouted for more fire. Again they unleashed their fury, again the human ship absorbed it, and again it answered with quiet death. This time, 5 ships disappeared, turned to ash and dust. Across the galaxy, empires watched in silence, their leaders gripping the arms of their thrones, their advisors too afraid to speak. The test was not going well for the Torvak. But the Dominion was stubborn, and they unleashed their full strength. Fighters swarmed like insects, missiles streaked through the void, dreadnoughts pushed forward with shields blazing. The human ship finally moved, not fast but precise, drifting through their formation with grace no vessel that size should have. Its weapons fired in every direction, beams slicing ships apart, explosions tearing through the Dominion's pride. The fleet crumbled piece by piece, their numbers meaningless before the fury of humanity's creation. As the battle raged, something even more terrifying happened. The ship's hull opened, releasing swarms of smaller drones, sleek machines that moved faster than any fighter. They cut through the Torvak pilots with ease, outmaneuvering, outgunning, and overwhelming them. No escape pod survived, no distress signals carried hope. The Dominion fleet, one of the strongest in the galaxy, was being erased before the eyes of billions. The Torvak commander finally realized the truth. This was not a battle. This was an execution. His last words were broadcast to the galaxy, trembling with rage and fear. "This ship, it fights like a god." Then his vessel was destroyed, vanishing in a blinding flash. When the smoke cleared, only wreckage remained. Hundreds of ships were gone, their pieces drifting silently in the void. And at the center of it all, the human vessel floated untouched, its weapons cooling, its lights dimming once again. The battle had lasted less than an hour, yet it had changed the galaxy forever. The Torvak Dominion, once feared by many, was broken, its pride shattered. The empires who had cheered for their downfall now trembled, for they knew the same fate could strike them at any time. The lesson was clear. This ship could not be defeated by force. It was humanity's answer to betrayal, and it had passed the test with terrifying power. Whispers spread across the stars. Some said the ship was alive, that it chose when to fight and when to rest. Others said hidden humans were inside, guiding its weapons, watching from the shadows. The bravest of scholars suggested something worse, that the ship was only one of many, that Earth had scattered them like seeds across the galaxy, waiting for the right time to bloom. Fear turned into paranoia. Every shadow in space, every drifting vessel, every silent signal could be another human warship waiting to awaken. The galaxy was no longer safe, not even in its strongest fleets or greatest empires. The Kithari commander who had seen the earlier visions felt a heavy weight in his chest. He spoke quietly to his officers. The Torvak have fallen. The ship has proven itself. Now the galaxy will tear itself apart trying to control it. And he was right. Already, empires began plotting, whispering of alliances and betrayals. Some wanted to capture the ship, believing it held the key to ultimate power. Others wanted to destroy it, fearing what would happen if it remained. And still others wanted to bow to it, to pledge loyalty to humanity before it was too late. The galaxy was no longer united in fear. Now it was divided in greed, ambition, and terror. And in that division, humanity's shadow grew stronger. As the wreckage of the Torvak fleet drifted silently, the human ship sent one final message. No voice, no recording, only words flashing across every screen in the system. You have been tested. You have been judged. More will be tested. Humanity is not gone. Humanity is eternal. Then the lights faded, the weapons folded back into its armor, and the vessel drifted once more like a corpse in the void. But everyone who saw it knew the truth. It was no corpse. It was a predator, resting between hunts, waiting for the next empire foolish enough to challenge it. Across the galaxy, rulers stared into the darkness of space, wondering who would be next. And somewhere, hidden in the shadows, the last humans watched, waiting for the perfect moment to return. The test of empires had begun, and the galaxy would never know peace again. The galaxy had fallen into silence after the destruction of the Torvak fleet. But that silence was not peace. It was the kind of silence before a storm, heavy and dangerous. Every empire whispered in dark halls, rulers demanded answers, and spies were sent to learn what truly controlled the human warship. Some said it was only a machine, others believed humans still lived inside, guiding it with ancient codes, but no one knew the truth. And then, without warning, the ship itself began to move. For the first time since its appearance, it turned its engines toward a forgotten system on the edge of the galaxy, a place no empire claimed, a place marked only as ruins. The empires followed from afar, too afraid to attack, too desperate to understand. The warship glided into orbit around a dead world, a planet scarred by ancient fire, its surface cracked and black. The ship hovered above it, and slowly, very slowly, its hull began to open. The watchers across the galaxy held their breath as a section of the massive vessel split apart, revealing a passage deep inside. What lay within was darker than anyone imagined. Inside the heart of the ship, hidden from all eyes until now, was a vast chamber filled with cryopods, thousands of them, lining the walls like silent coffins. Each pod held a figure, but only one still showed life. The cameras of the ship flickered to life, showing the galaxy what it had guarded for so long. In the largest pod, at the very center, a human lay sleeping, his chest rising and falling slowly, his face pale but strong. He was not dead. He was not a ghost. He was waiting. The galaxies gasped in shock. For centuries they had believed humanity destroyed, burned out by war and betrayal. But here was proof, a living human, preserved in the heart of the most powerful warship in existence. The pod hissed, steam curling into the air, and the human began to wake. His eyes flickered beneath his lids, his fingers twitched against the glass. At that moment, alarms blared through the ship, not hostile alarms but signals of activation. Systems came alive, the engines pulsed with power, and the weapons once again shifted into readiness. It was as if the ship itself had been waiting for this man to open his eyes. And when he did, the galaxy shuddered. He looked straight into the camera, as if he could see every empire, every ruler, every soul watching him from across the stars. His voice was quiet but clear, a voice that carried weight like thunder. "Is Earth safe?" he asked. No one answered because no one could. Earth was gone, burned, shattered in the wars that had ended humanity. But the human did not need an answer. He saw the silence, he understood the truth, and slowly, his expression hardened. The ship responded to his heartbeat, lights glowing brighter, weapons humming with energy, drones awakening from their nests like swarms of steel insects. The galaxy realized in horror that this was not a ghost ship, not an automated relic. It was a guardian, a weapon built to carry one last survivor until the day he awoke. And now he was awake. The human stepped out of the pod, his breath misting in the cold air, his body frail but his eyes sharp. He walked through the chamber with steady steps, and the ship moved with him, doors opening, machines lowering to assist him. He did not need to control it. It obeyed him like a loyal beast. Across the galaxy, leaders argued, some demanding they strike now before he gained strength, others insisting they must kneel before him, for no fleet could stand against him and his warship. Fear and greed clashed, but none could move. They knew if they tried, the ship would erase them as easily as it erased the Torvak. The human reached the control core, a throne-like chair of wires and steel. He sat, and the ship fused with him, data pouring into his mind, memories flashing before his eyes. He saw Earth as it once was, green and blue, filled with life. He saw its fall, flames across the sky, cities turned to ash, and alien fleets surrounding it. He saw betrayal, the councils that abandoned humanity, the empires that struck while Earth was weak. And he remembered the vow made by the last leaders of mankind, to send a weapon into the stars, carrying one of their own, to awaken when the time was right, to remind the galaxy that humanity never forgives. Tears welled in his eyes, but his voice was steady when he spoke again. If Earth is gone, then humanity's justice remains. The ship answered with a deep pulse that echoed across space. Its weapons armed, its drones spread outward, and its engines roared like a storm. The galaxy trembled as the man gave his first command. Begin. The empires panicked, sending messages, pleading, threatening, begging for mercy, but the ship ignored them. It launched from the dead world, its course unknown, its purpose clear. It would hunt. It would punish. It would bring humanity's vengeance to every corner of the galaxy. But then, a secret deeper than all others revealed itself. As the ship powered fully, hidden signals erupted from it, silent codes sent across the stars. And in distant dark corners of the galaxy, other signals answered. One by one, more ships began to awaken, buried in forgotten systems, hidden behind dead suns, sleeping for centuries. Humanity had not left one ship. They had left many. The lone ship was not alone. It was only the first. The galaxy watched in horror as reports came in from every sector. A massive human warship appeared near the Kithari border. Another awakened in the ruins of the Velran cluster. More emerged from the void beyond mapped space. Each was armed, each was unstoppable, each carried its own purpose. The empires screamed in panic, alliances shattered, fleets abandoned their posts. There was no defense. The final secret of humanity had been revealed. The warship the galaxy feared was only a shadow of the storm to come. The man in the first ship leaned back in his throne, his eyes burning with sorrow and fury. "They thought we were weak," he whispered. "They thought we were gone. Now they will learn." His ship and its brothers across the galaxy lit the stars with their engines, a new age of fire and steel. The galaxy had wanted to know the mystery of humanity's lone ship. Now they knew, and the truth was far worse than any rumor. Humanity was not gone. Humanity had only been waiting. And the waiting was over.